Major Garrett is in Washington to break it all down for us. Major, I want to get your take on that New York Times interview in just a moment. But first, these numbers now that suggest, again, that we may be looking at a closer race come November than some might have expected. What do you make of them?
So we're getting polling data now in swing states last week from Quinnipiac, Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, showing the race very close between Clinton and Trump. And now a national poll also showing a close race between Clinton and Trump. So we're beginning to get repetitive data telling us the same thing, a close race. Interestingly, Josh, a race that's very recognizable for any of us who've covered presidential elections for the past 5 or 6 cycles. You see strong partisan identification in both parties with the likely nominees. Very strong partisan identification with Trump. This poll has it at 87% Republicans for, 7% against. That's almost exactly what Mitt Romney had and John McCain had. Partisans in the Republican Party lining up with Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's numbers, 87%, 8%. All very familiar. Interestingly, Trump leads among independents, and Hillary Clinton leads among moderates. And this is why this is important, because we're going to go through this many, many times, Josh, with someone coming on CBS saying, oh, the independent vote is really important. Well, guess who won the independent vote in 2012? Mitt Romney, not elected president. Who won it in 2004? John Kerry, not elected president. The moderate vote is much more important than the independent vote. And right now, on this polling data, as with others, Hillary Clinton leads there, while Donald Trump leads among independents. So I would say net-net, Hillary Clinton has an advantage in that swing constituency, which historically has mattered the most.
Female voters will obviously matter as well. The numbers would seem then to inform Trump's strategy, as outlined again in the New York Times, of looking to damage Clinton among women, where he trails her now by 15 points in this new poll. This certainly seems, if nothing else, a flashpoint and the front line now of a battle that has begun.
And it's many layers. Okay, so it's not as if Trump is saying Bill Clinton was a roguish character with a sort of complicated, mixed up, boorish past with women. Guess who also has that? Donald Trump, okay? So that's not something where Donald Trump is trying to gain ground, because there's essentially a moral equivalency drawn between them two. He's making a much more complex but potentially more explosive charge against Hillary among women voters, that she sided with her husband and against women who felt abused or harmed or mistreated by Bill Clinton. And that's an argument targeted not just as women generally, but millennial women specifically, who have come to age in an era when that kind of alliance, women enabling men in an older generation to mistreat women, is something that is unacceptable in ways that it simply wasn't thought about or rejected 20 years ago. And that's a more complicated argument, but it's one that if Trump succeeds at, he can undercut potentially Hillary Clinton's support among millennial women who this race with Bernie Sanders has already shown are less likely to sort of jump on Hillary Clinton's bandwagon under the large umbrella of a feminist victory for feminist causes. That reluctance has already been demonstrated in this Democratic primary. Trump is trying to make that a relevant separation point in the general election.
Which speaks to a sense of strategy then. He has celebrated his own extemporaneous nature, his own unpredictability, if you will. But now he says, hey, look, I'm a counterpuncher. He actually says it in part of an interview that will air tonight with Megyn Kelly. First, I want to take a quick look and listen at it and get your thoughts on the other side.
Most kids between the ages of 6 and 16 have been bullied at some point in their lives. Were you ever bullied?
No, I wasn't. But I have seen bullying, and bullying doesn't have to just be as a child. I mean, I know people are bullied when they're 55 years old.
Could happen when you're 45.
It's you know, it happens, right? But you got to get over it. Fight back, do whatever you have to do. I've been saying during this whole campaign that I'm a counterpuncher. You understand that. I'm responding. Now, I then respond times maybe 10. I don't know. I mean, I respond pretty strongly. But in just about all cases, I've been responding to what they did to me.
Major, just this morning, a super PAC supporting Hillary Clinton released an ad knocking Trump for his comments about women. He has already responded on Twitter saying, and I quote, "Amazing that crooked Hillary can do a hit ad on me concerning women when her husband was the worst abuser of women in U.S. political history," end tweet. Day one of 6 months of the new normal?
Yeah, we're not going to see this every day, but it is part of what we just talked about, Josh, using this issue as a prism into Hillary Clinton's character itself. You stood by your husband. Did he treat women well? Trump says, no, he did not. Therefore, you were an enabler. Therefore, there's something disqualifying about your character, about who did you side with. You sided with your husband for political reasons, comes the allegation from the Trump campaign, instead of standing for women who were and felt like they were victims of Bill Clinton's mistreatment.
Major Garrett in Washington, we thank you.
Thanks.